I am in my autopilot for everyone, and if I ask it to refer to the tutorials by Mukesh Kala policies and I want it to generate a password, right? Let's say today I want to reset a password, right? And it is not able to give me the password because I do not have that information into the context grounding. And sometime at such situation we would like autopilot to go and trigger some automation, fetch the policies and generate the password, right? So that is why running automation is a critical part of your autopilot ecosystem. In this video we are going to see how do I trigger a process from autopilot. Hi everyone, welcome back to the next video in the UiPath Autopilot series. My name is Mukesh Kala. I am a 4 times UiPath MVP and a LinkedIn top voice. Shared my LinkedIn details on the page. Feel free to share me a connection request. Happy to be part of your network. Also, you see a small QR code on the screen. You can scan the QR and join our WhatsApp community as well to get the latest updates from the channel. Okay. So in this playlist, we are actually trying to discuss and understand autopilot in a step-by-step manner. In the previous video, we have already seen how you can set up autopilot, what are the ready to use tools, how do you set up Outlook, what are starting prompts, and we have also covered context grounding, right? So in case you are someone who has no idea where to get started for autopilot, this is the playlist for you. Okay. So today in this video, we are going to discuss about how we can actually run an automation and what are the things which are required to run an automation from autopilot. I would be doing this complete demonstration in a step-by-step manner. So I would request you guys to just open up your UiPath Studio, follow along with me so that at the end we both have the same automation and the same solution. Okay. And lastly, in case you are coming to the channel for the first time, haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the next videos in the same playlist. Having said that, let's get started. Okay, so now I believe that all of us have the autopilot available with us, and at the starting of the video I ask it a question that refer the tutorials by Mukesh Kala policies and give me a password. However, I have some information in the context grounding, but I do not have any information about the policies, right? So basically at this point what autopilot should have actually done is it should have triggered an automation which is relating to this query and should have given me the password, right? But since we don't have that, it was not able to actually go and trigger the automations, right? So for that what we have to do is let's first go and try to create a process. I will create a simple UiPath process, we'll deploy it to orchestrator, we'll hook it up to autopilot, and then we will come back and try to execute the same query. Okay. So for that I'll go to the UiPath Studio. Okay, and let's try to create a simple process. Okay, I'll call it TBMK policy for password, and I can just mention that process for getting the password as per policies, right? You can think it of any process which autopilot was not able to do with context grounding and all those default prompts, all the ready to box tools, right? All of these things where you actually need an automation. It can be something that go to the website, scrape the data, go to the Acme website, scrape the data, put it in an Excel. It can be something like database automation. It can be something like hitting an external API, or it can be something UI automation. Any automation which you can think of with an enterprise application, SAP, anything can be here triggered, put. And the best part is if you have already created some of the automation, you can actually hook them up back to the autopilot as well, right? You just need to do some settings which I'm going to explain as we proceed. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is I'll just go and I'll add a log message activity. For the simplicity, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a small process which is just going to create a random password as per the digit which the user gives. Okay, so here I would be showing you two things. One is how do you actually run a process from autopilot. The second thing, at the same time I'll also show you that how do you actually pass the input argument and how do you actually get the output from the process, right? So people who are experienced RP developer could relate it with the input and the output arguments of the process. Okay, so I'll go here and I'll say info. Into the log I'll say that starting the process, right, so that we can monitor this in the orchestrator. And then I'll not do much of the automation. I'll simply go to the arguments. Okay, and I'll create a input argument. I'll call it, let's say, the digit, right? Or maybe we can just say that, yeah, digit is fine, right? And this one is integer. Okay, and this one we are going to ask the user that how many character you want. Okay, and the output for this thing would be something like generated password. Okay, and that would be a string which we want to put it back to the autopilot. Okay, so we have an input and we have an output. Okay, so now here, let's say you are writing a huge automation. I'm just putting a log message activity, so you can relate it to any of the automation. You can say that, okay, a lot of code to execute any functionality, or maybe any feature, right? I don't want to correct the spelling. So a lot of code to execute any feature. Next, to generate the password, what I'm going to do is, I am not going to write much of the code. I'll just write small piece of code, right? And you guys can also copy the same. I'm going to create something which is called, let's say, the characters, right? So let's say my company policy says that you need to have some characters, and this characters I'll convert it to a variable, right, like this. My company policy says that you can only use a certain kind of characters to generate the password. Okay, I have already coded it, so I'm just doing a copy paste, but I'll explain you what I'm doing. Okay, so I have created a string variable, and in that string variable I have given a lot of characters which I want the automation solution to pick up for the random password, right? So ABCD till Z, the caps, some numbers, special characters, right? So you could just put anything in between, whatever you want to use to generate the passwords. Okay, so from these I want to generate the password, right? And now to generate the actual password, I'll go to the arguments, and let's try to create an out argument. I'll call it as out underscore password, which is an out argument. And then I'll just go to the activities, take assign activity, and from these characters, whatever input the user has put into, my bad, whatever number the user provide me here into the integer digit, that digit I want to get from this and randomly generate, right? So what I'm going to do is, into my out password, I'm going to write an expression, right? I'll just use my existing function which I have written just to save time. I have used ChatGPT for this, or you can use this this also, right? So this is the syntax. Okay, so what I am telling UiPath is that from this characters, instead of password length, I'll just pass digit. Okay, so from the characters whichever I have passed, A to Z, small a to Z, give me this and make sure that you generate a random and give it in a form of .to array, right? So this is the simple thing, guys, which you need to take to get any of the random numbers. You can get this anywhere, or you can just pause the video and type it for yourself. Okay, and if required I can post it in the comments also, so you can just directly copy paste from there. Okay, cool. So I'll just go and save this, and what would happen is this will actually go and it will generate the password. And next thing what I'm going to do is I'll just go and I'll print the password, out password, right? And that's it, right? That's a small automation. So if you see my automation, I have two arguments. One is the input arguments which I'm going to ask the user. As of now I have just put 8, and output's password is an output argument. So if I go and I just say run the file, okay, in the output I am getting a 8-digit password, correct? And if I just make it to something smaller, maybe 4, and then I say run the file, I'm getting a 4-digit, right? So basically it has started giving me that random number, right? Now all we have to do is, now it can be your existing automation or it can be any new functionality which you have created, right? I'm not going into detail of automation, best practices, exception handling, all of that is your automation part. Focus is on autopilot. But if you are new, please refer to the previous videos to know more about the best practices, RE framework and all those stuff. Okay, so here first thing is you need to go to the project and you need to understand, right, how would autopilot know if this process is compatible with autopilot or not. So for that, if you go to the project and then you click on this guy, which is the project settings, you have something here which is called project tags. Into the project tags, if you see a drop down here, you would see that all the different tags which are available, and one of the tag is autopilot, right? So which means that I have created a new process, and that process I am tagging to autopilot. If you are newly creating a process, you can always go and put it here and you can say okay. But don't worry, in case you have already created a process and you forgot to tag it here, you can still do it, right? But let's say you are creating fresh, as I was creating, you have that option to put the tag here. Okay, and I say okay, and then all we have to do is publish the automation. So when you click on publish, you can notice that which folder you are connected to, right? I am connected to the shared folder, so that means it is going to the shared folder. Okay, so I'll go here and I'll simply click on this guy, which is the publish, right? And now it's asking me the package properties, which is absolutely fine. And if you notice here, the same project tag which I have put here is available now for me to put here as well. I quickly want to show you something here. You have an option to remove the tags, or you can add additional tag from here as well, right? So it entirely depends where do you want to put the tag. You can put it in the setting there or during the publish. Okay, and then I can just say next. I'm putting it into tenant feed, next, and I can just say publish. Okay, and you would see that the name of the process is tbmk underscore policy password is now published to the orchestrator, but still not hooked up to the autopilot. Okay, I'll just go here and I say okay. I'll save this, and now let's go to the orchestrator. Easiest way, you can go to the data manager and click on any one of this. This automatically logs into the orchestrator. Okay, so you don't have to type all those things, right? So now I just put it in the shared, and this is my same tenant. This is published, right? Now all you have to do is you just have to go and create a new process out of that NuGet. Okay, so I have just published a NuGet. So now I'll go here and I'll click on this guy which says add a process, and then I think it was tbmk password policy is available here. Now here orchestrator is asking you that you have a process, that process has tags, do you want to use it? I can say yes, add it. At this moment you would realize that whatever tag we have given is now added, but as a developer you always has an option to modify the tags even in the orchestrator, right? I'll show you where. So I selected this is the package version. As you can see that it has an input argument and it has an output argument. I hit next, and then here you would see that this does not have any package requirements. I do not set that, and this is the place where you can put more of the tags, right? We have separately created a complete video on the tags management. Please do refer in case you don't understand what is this tag management. Okay, so I'll post the link in the description, right? And now what do you want to call this process? If you leave it blank, it will be absolutely like this. Job priority is optional. I do not want the auto healing, and rest I leave everything to the default setting, and I'll just go and I'll say create, right? And I can just close this. So basically what I have done is I have deployed a process into the orchestrator, right? I have done it in a bit fast way because I believe you guys understand what is orchestrator, tenant, folders and all. In case you don't, quick information, I have a paid course which is available on Udemy. I have posted the link here. You can just go and purchase it and you can learn more about orchestrator. Okay, back to the topic. So now we have this TBMK password policy which is available here, and if you see that we have tagged it in a label of autopilot. Okay. Now to put this into autopilot, all you have to do is just go to this 9 dots, go to the admin section, and we actually have to go to the same place where we have enabled the autopilot, which is nothing but the AI trust layer. And then here we go to autopilot for everyone, which is the tenant. I only have one tenant, right? And then you would see that we have something which is called automation properties. Right after the context grounding, which we did last time, right? We have now the automation properties. Now here it is asking you which folder. Folder is important. I go and I select shared, which automation into the shared folder, which is this. Now autopilot enable processes only, you can click on that and it will select from the label, but I already got it here. Now automation prompt description, how do you want to define the process? So basically you want to tell, right, what exactly this process is all about. So I can just go here and I say that this process contains the TBMK company policy and generate you a password. Okay, if I go to my autopilot, I had asked us to refer to the company policies and give me a password, and it was not able to search the company policies, right? But now I have a process into the orchestrator that have my company policies, and according to that company policy it generates a password, and let's say give it back to you, something like that, right? In a very natural language you can make autopilot understand what the process is all about, right? And then it has something here, input and the output. So in the output, if you would see here, how do you want to display the output? So as of now my output is a string, but sometime you might have output which is a tabular format. So for example, your automation is giving data table as output. Autopilot has the capability to give it in the table format, into the bulleted format, or something in exactly in a readable format, right? So I would like autopilot to stick to this one where I say that summarize the output in a user friendly way. Okay, now there is something which is called indigit, which was an input argument. How would autopilot know, or the human user know, what is this? Indigit is something which is more relevant to the developer and not to the human user. So for that you have an option here, edit, what is the display name? So in the display name I can say that maybe something called password length, that would make more sense, right? Description to the user, right? What password length you require. Okay, description to the autopilot, this would be the input parameter which the user will provide, and which the user will provide maybe to generate the password. Okay, and then I'll leave all of these to the default settings, and I'll just go and click on this guy, which is the save. So what I have done is I have actually enabled autopilot, and in the autopilot actually I have enabled an automation into the autopilot from this guy, which is the automation properties. Okay, and now if I go back to the autopilot, and one more thing, right, before I go and refresh the policies, if you'll see here, I go to the autopilot, autopilot has this guy, which is this small setting. Okay, and in the setting you have here, in the advanced setting, you have something which is called the automations. Okay, and now you can see that all the automations which I have available here as of now, if I go here and I search TBMK, it says that TBMK password policy is available here, right? Without even me now going and refreshing, right? You can always go and refresh it. However, at any point of time, let's say you do not want autopilot to go and use this one, you can just go here and disable it, enable it. We want to test it, so that's why I have enabled it, right? So here we can do that. And now to better utilize it, sometime it does not work, so I'm just going and I am going to refresh the policies of autopilot, right? So when I say refresh the policies, what happened? Autopilot fetches all the resources again. But as a developer, you always has an option, as I already shown you, that which automation you want to use and which automation you don't want to use. Okay, so now I'm back here and let's try to test it, right? So I can just go here. I forgot my prompt. I think it was something like refer the TBMK policies and generate a password. I can just minimize all of this and I can just send this. Okay, so same prompt, analyzing your request. Last time it was not able to find this, but this time it is correctly able to map it, and this 8 is the default value which we have given. It is asking you what is the in digit, right? 8, 9, 10. You can just increase it. Let's try to make it to 5 and I just say run. Now what would happen? It would trigger an automation into the background, and we have put some logs, so we will also see that in the orchestrator still working. So it says that automation was successful. You can see the automation parameter here. Based on the TBMK policies, I have generated a password for you, which is this 5 character. This password means, because this is coming from the same thing, right? And then if I go back to my orchestrator, let's quickly see that what happens in the orchestrator. Open a new tab, tick into the shared folder, processes, jobs. Okay, so TBMK password policies was triggered successful via robotnet API. That means that it was triggered from autopilot. You can click on the 3 dots and you can see the logs, right? So starting the process, a lot of code to execute, right? Maybe the company policies, the password, and this thing, right? And that's it, right? So now basically I have this process here, and now if I just write it in a different way as well, right? I want to generate password as per policies, right? So I just given a different kind of prompt. Let's see. And then it has again shown me the same process. Again 8 is the default value. You have an option to change it. Let's make it to -1. I think -1 will break, but again that is exception handling, right? So I'll just run it for, let's say, 7 and I say run it. Job started processing, still working. And here is the password with the 7 characters with a pretty nice explanation. How cool is that, right? So yes, that is pretty much I wanted to cover in this video and showcase you that how you can actually trigger automation from autopilot for everyone, and how you can actually configure your existing automation to work with autopilot for everyone. Any more questions, any more doubts, feel free to write me in the comments, or you can also drop me an email as well. I'll appreciate your feedback on this series and let me know your feedback, right? So with that, wrapping this video here. Thank you for watching and happy automation.